Jauan Jennings wants what from the 49ers? Plus, how does the Micah Parsons trade reshape things in the NFC? And does his new contract mean the Niners are going to have to get to the table with Nick Bosa? We'll get to it all on today's Gold Standard Podcast. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard Podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. She is Michelle Majuk. What is someone calling you on the phone? What is happening right now?
No, I'm sorry. I am all here. I'm all yours.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, sure. Wait, just throw that in at the end. Yeah, thanks for squeezing us in.
I'm here.
All right, we got a big show today. We finally got a little more information when it comes to Jauan Jennings and what he is asking of the 49ers. If it is to be believed, I can't believe it because it's crazy. We'll let you hear that. Plus, obviously, speaking of crazy, the Dallas Cowboys voluntarily traded Micah Parsons to another team in the NFC who has knocked them out of the playoffs multiple times in recent years. That is a thing that happened. Plus, with his new deal, what does that mean for the Niners and Nick Bosa? We have a lot to get to. Suddenly things are happening, less than 10 days from the start of the regular season, Michelle.
Listen, I mean, I don't remember this much movement. It was crazy when it first came out that Parsons asked for a trade request. You're like, that's never going to happen, right? But then it really sounded like from all the big experts, like, yeah, no, this could really happen. It doesn't seem like Parsons is going to be here with the Cowboys. And Jerry Jones actually let him leave, like a prime edge rusher and a young one too. It's not one of these older guys. It's wild they let him go, but he did get a ton of money. I mean, it's not like he's even making close to TJ Watt or Myles Garrett. He made way more than that. Insane.
Yeah, we'll get to the implications of the Micah Parsons trade in a minute, but we got to start with our own contract drama in San Francisco. And that, of course, is Jauan Jennings. Tim Kawakami was a guest on 95.7 The Game yesterday and sort of gave us some new information about what exactly he wants. And when you hear it, I feel like you'll instantly know why the 49ers have not done a new deal with Jauan Jennings. Here's Tim on what JJ wants.
What you hear not from the camp, but from NFL circles is that it's high. It's above 20 is what I've heard, and maybe a lot above 20 a year. To put him in the top 20 or so of receivers in that realm. 49ers have done it before with Brandon Ayuk. So, there is precedent for lifting a guy way up on the higher ranks of the receiver salaries. What I've heard from the 49ers side in the air on that one is that they don't want to do anything. They are negotiating. I think there have been numbers exchanged, but they just redid his deal last year. If you ask me what the dollars are, I would tell you just from my opinion is that it's not close. It's not even close. He wants a lot, and the 49ers are offering very little. I'll put it that way, if I could generalize it like that.
That is a hell of a summary from Tim Kawakami, Michelle. Your reaction to Jauan saying he wants $20 million plus, maybe more.
I mean, it's crazy, right? And you can look and you're like, okay, well, a lot of wide receivers make 20 million plus more nowadays. 23 wide receivers do, to be exact. But however, there are 32 wide receiver ones across the league, right? And I don't think Jauan Jennings should be a wide receiver one in this league. I know he had to be used like that last year, but still George Kittle was the main guy in that offense. And he's not going to be utilized that way this year as long as Christian McCaffrey and Pearsall and Kittle can stay healthy. I know he's trying to capitalize on his career year, but at the same time, man, you have one game in your entire career with over 100 receiving yards. One single game. He has just 14 games out of his 56 career games with 50 plus receiving yards. He hasn't done enough to be paid like Mike Evans. Even the guys that are making $20 million, Chris Godwin and Stephon Diggs and Mike Evans, they have done real stuff in their career, right? Have actually performed well for a long time. And, just when you get older, sometimes with that name, you keep getting that money. I think he should be more in the tier with the Darnell Mooneys and the Khalil Shakirs and Rashad Bateman's. I think that's fair. Jacoby Myers is making $11 million a year. Khalil Shakir, $13 million. Rashad Bateman, 12.3. Do I think he deserves a bump up from his 5.9 he's making per year right now? Absolutely. But around 11 million's not, that's still doubling his pay, not the 20 million that he's asking for.
20 million is absurd. Mike Evans is a borderline Hall of Famer. He's making $20 million. Jauan Jennings has never had a single 1,000-yard season in his life. There is no way the 49ers can do that, especially because they just paid Brandon Ayuk all that money. They just drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. They're not paying Jauan Jennings $20 million.
You also just don't pay a guy $20 million who has 6 career games with over 70 receiving yards. 6 career games with over 70 receiving yards. And he wants $20 million a year. That's insane. Insane.
Yeah,
they can just draft a guy that can do what you just draft a guy in the second or third round and he can fill his role.
Demarcus Robinson could fill that role this year, who they signed for nothing. It's just crazy. If you're watching on the stream, you could see some of the receivers that make 20 million or more per year. Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Chris Godwin, Cortland Sutton, Calvin. The names that are better. They're just better than Jauan Jennings. So when I heard that from Tim Kawakami, I was absolutely stunned. I reached out to Drew Rosenhaus to see if he had any reaction to, what has come out. Shockingly, he has not responded to my inquiries. So if I get word, I will let you know. But I did try because obviously that's coming from the 49ers. And, let's see what his response is. Sometimes these things are one-sided. So we want to get the response. Later in the interview with Kawakami, he went on to say a couple other things, one of which was that the Niners apparently are pretty mad at Jauan Jennings.
They wanted him practicing. They wanted him in camp. They wanted this to be a nice, happy camp as opposed to what they had last year. That didn't really happen because of Jauan. I don't think they're real thrilled about it. I think we saw it on their faces yesterday.
Yesterday being the press conference with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, we know that the Niners wanted a good vibes camp, right? They wanted all the drama, all the crap from last year to be over with. They pretty much got that. This Jauan Jennings thing has been sort of a thing, but not anywhere near a distraction. I wouldn't even call it a distraction, to be honest with you. But clearly the Niners are ticked at Jauan.
Listen, I would be ticked too. They need him there. I want him to be a part of this team as the wide receiver 2 or 3 or the situational guy in third down. I think he's a good, important role player to this team, but he wants to be the star of the team, right? And get paid like that. That's not going to happen. Also, we talked about, a couple weeks ago, I'm surprised Jauan Jennings wants this contract extension now that I know he's asking for $20 million. Sure. I guess he's just delusional and that makes more sense why he's asking for it now, because if he could get $20 million a year, you sign that right away and you don't worry about what you do this year in your future, about missing out on money. But realistically, what he can ask for right now is somewhere around the $13 million to 15 max a year, max. I really think 12 to 13 is max for a Jauan Jennings type. That's all you can ask for right now with what you've done realistically, and actually get it. If you're thinking that you deserve this $20 million a year, you have the opportunity. This is your prime year to go out, prove that you could be a wide receiver 1 in the league, ball out, finally have your huge big season where you can get over the 1,000 receiving yards and show that you can consistently do it, because that'll be 2 years in a row where you've broken out. And another team, if it's not the 49ers, will pay up for you and actually give you that big contract. We saw it out of Gabe Davis, right? He got the big one. It was a mistake. We saw it with Christian Kirk. He got the big one with the Jaguars. So it was a mistake. But it's you have to prove it. This is your prove it year. And you should want this opportunity. Normally, guys are dying to get to free agency. And Jauan Jennings is kind of telling on himself that he doesn't believe that he will have as good of a year as he did this past year.
I don't understand where he's coming from with this kind. I understand, it's negotiation, right? You start high and all that stuff. But I remember when I was buying my house, you make an offer, and this is before the market got totally crazy. When I was buying a house, it was, you don't pay the asking price. You end up paying a little less. You start with a number, they start with a number, you meet in the middle, and it's fine. But the danger is, your first offer can't be so outrageous that they just look at you and say, you're not a serious person. I'm not dealing with you. And then the whole thing goes kaput. That's what Jauan Jennings asking for $20 million. Like, that's just, you're not a serious person. That you're not actually interested in like finding a deal. It's crazy to me. Although apparently Kenny doesn't think it's crazy. Kenny says his contract demand isn't that surprising. Adjusting for inflation, his ask is less than what a guy like Christian Kirk got when he signed.
Yeah, but I also think Christian Kirk showed more in his career prior to that. He's also a different kind of wide receiver where he can be used as a possession wide receiver. I just don't think Jauan Jennings is like that. Now, Christian Kirk's deal at the time was outrageous too. I mean, we all made fun of it, right? We all made fun of the Jaguars for giving him that contract. Everyone was shocked, but they were desperate, and wide receivers didn't want to go there because they were a bad team. You know, wide receivers weren't doing well there. So they had to overpay to get just an average wide receiver there. Is that really what you're saying the 49ers should do? Be desperate and overpay? That clearly didn't work out for Jacksonville. They had to let him go. And I mean, Jacksonville also overpaid Gabe Davis last year. Gone already. So like, let's not overpay guys. But I mean, at least with Christian Kirk, he had a couple seasons with, you know, a 700 yards, 982 like Jauan Jennings just had. But at least he had 4 years of decent production. Well, Jauan Jennings has had 1 year. That's it in his entire career.
Kenny says, oh, I think it's insane. I just don't think it's surprising. Okay, so let's clear that up. Chris Maldonado, YouTube channel member for 27 months. Thank you so much, Chris. Shout out to you. Appreciate the love. Shout out to all the YouTube channel members. Chris says, I love Jennings, but damn, he just got paid. And that seems to be a key sticking point with this whole thing. The 49ers have said to Jauan Jennings, and I'm not quoting, I'm paraphrasing, but basically like, dude, we just did this. We took care of you. We recognized the production and the value that you brought to the team. We just did this last year. We're not doing it again. Not to mention the fact that because if they do, everybody that signs a contract with the 49ers is going to want to come back to them the next year and say, give me a new deal. You just did it with Jauan Jennings. Why won't you do it with me?
Now, I agree with him. He is making pretty low. I mean, it's 5.9 over, 2 years. So nearly $12 million to get over these 2 years. At the time last year, it was like, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Whatever, they want to re-sign him. It didn't seem necessary, but I am happy they pulled that deal at the end of the day. But at the same time, they put a risk into you. They gave you this contract before you did really anything in the NFL. And I do think at that point, like I'm not trying to be on the team side or the billionaire side, but they did. I mean, they gave you the contract already. And they're also allowing you now to, you're going to have an opportunity to prove you deserve to be paid big time and be a full free agent. Like you get whatever you want next year, as long as you play as well as you think you can play, because you're asking for $20 million a year. Do it, and you can make even more than $20 million a year. I personally think Jauan Jennings is just telling on himself, where he doesn't think he's actually that good.
I have criticized the 49ers a lot for how they have handled contract negotiations with all their big stars and Ayuk, who's slightly below the Fred Warner, Christian McCaffrey, that kind of deal. But the 49ers are 100% right here. And again, I have no problem with players wanting to get paid. I have no problem with players doing what they can do to try and get paid. But this ask by Jauan Jennings is just, to me, unrealistic. And I don't blame the Niners for saying, we're not doing it. And so we wait here, but we may not have to wait very much longer, Michelle, because listen to one of the last things that Tim Kawakami said during the interview.
There is some weird little thing that this option bonus, $3.4 million that he qualified for last year by hitting those numbers, is paid on September 1. It is guaranteed money, so it's going to him at some point. But if the 49ers trade him before, that's coming up, or that's Monday, then that cap hit doesn't go on their books. It goes to the traded team's books. I'm the one saying I don't think a trade's happening. I think there is enough feeling in there that they can figure this out and get them on the field early in the season, and it's worth it to them, that they haven't decided to take the nuclear option yet. It might be coming pretty soon, though.
So there is an option bonus due to Jauan Jennings on Monday that he is getting, period, end of discussion, because he hit his incentives last year. The question is, who is going to pay that option bonus? Will the Niners pay it, or will they trade him before Monday so that the acquiring team would then have to pay it? They always say deadlines spur action, Michelle. Monday is a deadline of sorts.
Well, no, I'm actually thinking the opposite way. Do you think teams are like, we'll trade for him after September 1st? We're not paying him for what he did last year for you guys. Like, no, you owe him that money. and we'll be willing to trade for him and give him his bump up in contract, but we're not going to also pay the $3.5 million bonus. So we will trade for him after. We'll wait a few days and trade for him after September 1st. I think maybe that's what maybe that would be a holdup on any team actually being willing to trade for him. There are you can name quite a few teams that could utilize another wide receiver, right? The Jets, the Steelers, the Browns, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Titans. Like, you can go down the list. There's a lot of teams that could utilize another wide receiver right now. But at the same time, I just don't think a lot of trade value is going to come I don't think teams are like breaking down the door for Jauan Jennings, and they're definitely not like, let me go pay that bonus for you. Like, he's that important. Like, so I think the only way a trade happens is if a team waits till after September 1st.
I don't know what the market for Jauan Jennings is, but maybe a team can say, hey, look, we got to pay this guy if we're trading for him. So we'll just give you a 7th round pick. Like, they'll use the bonus as an excuse to offer less in compensation for the trade. I don't know. I could see it going either way, Michelle.
Yeah, and as fans, we'd much rather the 49ers just pay for the bonus and then get better draft compensation.
I mean, I don't even know what to like.
Well, Adam Thielen just got a 4th rounder, so.
I don't know. I don't even know. I don't think you're going to get more for Jennings than you got for Debo.
Well, it's all different, right? Because, you say that. I mean, I say that, but Debo was making more money. They're going to have to pay him again next year. It was for 1 year, right? But that's the same thing with Jauan Jennings, because he already wants more money. He's a free agent next year, and he's already being unrealistic with his ask. So imagine if he actually has a really great season, what he's going to be asking for. So, I mean, you would have thought it would be easier to trade a Jauan Jennings because his contract's so low, but that's just not the case with what he's wanting right now.
I hope they get it resolved one way or the other. Don't let this thing.
I hope he's just on the field, because they really did. I mean, it can't just be Pearsall and no one else. I mean, I know they signed MVS, which I would like to talk about your feelings with that one if we want to get to that.
I mean, if all he's going to do is just run clear out routes, there's nobody better than MVS because he's still fast as hell and great. But if you're going to throw him the ball, he ain't catching it. He ain't catching it. He's got the hands of a snake.
He does. I will say, in Clint Kubiak's offense last year with the Saints, he came up pretty clutch a lot, and making big time catches. Not like just killing people deep and making those deep catches. I actually remember him for a couple of weeks there in fantasy. I was like starting him, and he kept just scoring touchdowns. It was crazy. I actually don't mind the signing at all. I kind of really like it. Now, the guy I loved and I wanted the 49ers to draft late in the draft was Torrey Horton. And he won the starting job in the Seahawks as a 5th round pick over MVS. Not annoyed at all by the 49ers. But I am happy Torrey Horton's going to get a shot. Anyways, MVS, I think they needed that guy, right? So because they lost Jacob Cowing, of course, again. So they didn't have that speedster. I think that's really important to have out in the field to help Ricky Pearsall get open, to help George Kittle have more space. Like, even if MVS is just clearing out, he is extremely fast. And I know he has bad hands, but the defense can't just let you go free. I mean, I do think he can most of the time catch a wide open ball, most of the time. So I like the addition. I really do.
They definitely needed him. You know my 3 questions. Do I love it? Do I need it? Is it good a deal? If you can answer yes to 2 of those questions, you make the move. I don't love MVS. Did they need him? Yep. Is it a good deal? Yep. Welcome aboard. I'm totally fine with that.
I hated MVS when he was like being hyped up and like people wanted to pay him and like people were loving him. I'm like, he's a bad wide, like he's not worth this. But when he's free and he has that, like what he's the best at, it's his speed and getting other guys open. It's not him, it's not his actual abilities of catching the football, but his speed will help out this team for sure.
Pick him up. Welcome aboard, MVS. Kenny says, should the Niners still sign Kendrick Bourne? That's the other part of this, Michelle. Guess who's visiting the facility on Monday? Kendrick Bourne, who clearly the 49ers know. They have a history with. They like him. He's played for Kyle Shanahan before. So all of this stuff.
Bring in the injured guy. Yeah, why not?
Well, so is Jauan, though.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I know, but Kendrick Bourne, I mean, he looked like he was coming along with the Patriots, tore the ACL, hasn't been really back since then. I at this point, I feel like they just want to add bodies, and that's all they care about doing.
And at least Bourne, unlike, some of these other veteran additions, Bourne knows the system. Now he might.
Keenan Allen would have been such a good addition. I can't believe they just never added him.
They don't want to pay
How
any
much
money.
Keenan Allen's barely making anything.
I don't know. I think that is absolutely part of it. So I think the Jauan Jennings stuff is coming to a head, and we'll see how it all.
He signed a Keenan Allen.
Oh boy, is Michelle driving
live?
Were you driving through a tunnel there? I lost you. What? Say it again with Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen signed a 1-year, $3 million deal with the Chargers. He was still available in August, and he signed a 1-year, $3 million deal. You're telling me the 49ers can't afford a 1-year, $3 million deal?
Well, they certainly can. God knows they could afford more than that. They seem to have put around that number. That $3 million number seems to be like the limit of what they want to spend, apparently, from what I've been hearing. So who knows? But we are days away from the season. There doesn't seem to be any sort of movement on a Jauan Jennings deal. And we'll see if the Niners ultimately hold firm. Before we get to the Micah Parsons conversation, Lettuce49 dropped in this super chat a couple minutes ago, and I promised we would get to it. Lettuce says, and thank you very much, says, I live in Philly, Michelle. Please give me the best argument why Purdy is greater than Hurts to repel these fans. They are delusional. They think he's the best quarterback.
So I'm really sorry. I can't give you reasons why Purdy's better than Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's an elite leader. I think Purdy and him have a lot of similarities in terms of their arm strength and abilities. I think Purdy's a little bit more accurate than Hurts, but then Hurts offers you more mobility, and you can't deny the whole what is it called? Push. Yeah. Why are you mute now? Am I just a disaster over here?
Oh, no, I accidentally muted myself. But I did say tush push.
Tush push, yeah.
It's lip reading by you. Sorry about that, everybody. But you've always been a Jalen Hurts fan, to be fair.
And his leadership is out of this world. Like he lets nothing in his brain other than like winning. All he cares about is winning and being the best, and he doesn't let anything else in. And I do think he's just an elite like a top of the line leader.
His leadership was so good that the Eagles lost, 7 of their last 8 games a couple of years ago, and just looked completely flummoxed and lost down the stretch of the regular season, and almost got their head coach fired. I don't know about Jalen Hurts' leadership.
And then came back and won a Super Bowl. Wild.
Yeah.
Well, so we think Purdy's a good leader, and they went 6-11 last year. What does that have to do?
Barkley carried the team. What are we talking about here? Let's not act like it was the same team that Jalen Hurts took to the Super Bowl.
Well, Jalen Hurts also took a different team to a Super Bowl, so.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, without Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
and had an amazing Super Bowl, but Patrick Mahomes just had a more amazing Super Bowl. Actually, not even. Jalen Hurts had the better Super Bowl, but
yeah,
it's just whoever had the ball last was going to win.
Well, Jalen Hurts also had a big fumble in that Super Bowl. Nonetheless, all right, Michelle. Kick.
That doesn't take away from your leadership, though. Like,
I'm just saying, I've never seen a team with good leadership end up the way the Eagles did in that season. And it wasn't because of ability where they were losing. Like, the team was just unraveling. Anyway, let's get beyond the Jalen Hurts conversation, because we have a little breaking news, Michelle. The New England Patriots are releasing safety Jabrill Peppers. He still has $4.32 million guaranteed remaining on his contract. He started 85 games, including 26 with New England. Been a veteran, been around a while. Niners safeties are not exactly secure. Like, Jair Brown might start week 1. Should the Niners go shopping here?
Absolutely. I mean, they should have been shopping for safeties this entire offseason, and they're not doing it. I don't know what will make them interested in Jabrill Peppers when there's other guys available in free agency that they're not looking at. I think they just want to go in with what they have. I think it's absolutely crazy. I think their safety group is entirely scary. But so I'll be happy with them signing any free agent that is at least, has the experience we know can be solid. I just don't think they're going to do it.
Pick them up. Oh, I'm here for it, man. Do you love it? Do you need it? Is it a good deal? It's going to be a good deal. You need it. I don't care if you don't love Jabrill Peppers. You need it. Jair Brown I wouldn't have been shocked if Jair Brown got cut. That's how much I've sort of lost faith in his future with the team.
Remember I told you to relax on Jair Brown being good?
Remember, I never said he was going to be in the Hall of Fame. I just said, you always do this to me, Michelle. I'm not allowed to be excited about anybody.
You just think everyone's going to be so good and have such a good contribution. And I told you, like, Jair Brown's probably not going to be very good.
I didn't say he was going to be a Hall of Famer. I said I was excited.
I'm just the realistic one. I'm the realistic one.
Yeah, you're the realistic one. All right. Let's get to the big news of the day yesterday. Of course, the Micah Parsons trade going from Dallas to Green Bay. It's galactically stupid by the Cowboys. For all the crap that I have given the 49ers about how they have dealt with their stars, it is light years better than the Dallas Cowboys, who are just a complete joke. Jerry Jones with his rambling 47-minute press conference yesterday where he called him Michael Parsons multiple times. Like, give me a break. But Parsons stays in the NFC, which thanks for that, Cowboys. Where do you put the Packers in the NFC now? How much of an obstacle are the Packers for the 49ers in the NFC? What do you think? How does this sort of shake up the picture there?
Listen, this is a huge get for the Packers because I thought they were a playoff team, but borderline playoff team, and that they'd lose again early in the playoffs if they did make it. I think the Lions and the Bears can be better in that division than them. This was all my thinking before they got Parsons, right? Because their defense was looking uninspiring with only Rashawn Gary there, who is a solid enough edge rusher, but nothing crazy. And they didn't have a lot of star power on their defense. They lost a lot of secondary pieces. And I do think their secondary is still a little iffy going into the season. I mean, really iffy going into the season. But now with Parsons there and Rashawn Gary, they're going to be able to get to the quarterback so much easier. It's going to make everything easier for the secondary. I still don't think Jordan Love is a top 10 quarterback whatsoever. And they have a lot of injuries at the wide receiver position already. But I mean, them going out to get Parsons, it's brilliant by them. Even if they had to pay a ton of money, I don't really care. Like, the Cowboys are so stupid. And Jerry Jones clearly doesn't know why are they letting him run the team when he doesn't even know his name? He doesn't even know Parsons' first name.
I think he was just being petty. Papa J says Jerry Jones is my hero, deliberately sabotaging his own team. There's a lot of, I was watching reaction to this all day yesterday because one of my good friends, RJ Ochoa, covers the Cowboys for Blogging the Boys, first of all, so I was feeling for him. I was checking out Peter Bukowski because he was obviously, popping champagne at the news. You don't do this. You don't trade 26-year-old pass rushers. And Jerry's talking about, his run defense. Give me a break. You don't pay Micah Parsons to play the run. You pay him to tackle the quarterback and sack the quarterback. Just like you didn't pay Deion Sanders to tackle, right? You paid him to cover the other team's best wide receiver. You don't give away a cornerstone franchise piece. The two jobs of every GM is get a quarterback and get an elite pass rusher. Those are the two. You had one with Micah Parsons. If you want to argue about that, great, that's fine, whatever. But the point is, this is not what any draft pick they got, they're going to try to use to draft a guy who's as good as Micah Parsons, who they already had. It makes no sense.
I do think maybe having an elite edge rusher is overvalued a little bit, just for the fact that the teams with the best edge rushers in the league really aren't that good. TJ Watt has not delivered a playoff win or even a close to a playoff win for the Steelers, right? And it can't be all, I get it can't be one guy, but a quarterback, it can be one guy, right? A quarterback can carry a whole team and you get you a playoff win. With the edge rusher, it's just so far off of the quarterback. That's why I do think $48 million a year for an edge rusher is absolutely insane. So I did say it's a good deal. Like, I get trading for Parsons. 48 is pretty wild, but at the same time, we don't know all the details and what goes into it and the guarantees and what the cap hits look like per year. So, and last year, the Cowboys did allow the second most points per game in the league, and Parsons was on that team, right? Now, he did miss a handful of games, and that affected that. And Myles Garrett's with the Browns, that hasn't changed anything. Max Crosby with the Raiders, that hasn't changed anything, right? Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals didn't help their defense much. Now, they probably will be worse, but it's like, if you're already really bad anyways, what is it really changing? So maybe it works out for the Cowboys. Maybe it's better not to pay him the $48 million. And I actually, thinking about it, when you're paying Dak, I feel like you have to decide either to pay your edge rusher that much money or your quarterback that much money. They're already paying Dak top of the market by $5 million. They're already paying CeeDee Lamb top of the wide receiver market. So it would have been hard. I think the $48 million a year was, or $47 million a year was kind of shocking.
First of all, they wouldn't have had to pay CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott that much money if they had handled their contracts the right way.
And they wouldn't have had to pay Parsons this if they would have just paid him last year when he was eligible. They could have got him for like $35 million a year.
Yep, it would have been way less. If you're watching on the stream, you could see the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the NFL. Parsons is 1, TJ Watt, Jamar Chase, Myles Garrett, Danielle Hunter, Max Crosby. If you scroll down on that list, you get to number 8, Michelle, and that would be one Nicholas J. Bosa. I have no idea if his middle name begins with a J, but that's what I'm going with. $34 million a year. I do wonder what effect this deal is going to have on Nick Bosa because, look, we know how this works, right? Guys get paid, then after a while the market goes up. They want a new contract to reflect that. And the other part of this is that Nick Bosa's cap hit next year explodes. It doubles, basically. So they're going to be negotiating with Nick Bosa because his cap hit is 20.4 this year. It goes up to 42 million, which is still $5 million less than Micah Parsons just got. But nonetheless, $42 million next year. So how do you think this Parsons contract with Green Bay affects what Nick Bosa is going to want?
Yeah, I know. Now I do think he's going to probably ask for more money next year because they're going to want to change up this contract with the $42 million cap hit. That's just super, super high. They probably always intended to restructure at this point. But now that the market is blown up, that's what kind of stinks, right? They gave Nick Bosa such a big contract, so much higher than everyone else to begin with. And now you're like, well, now it looks good, right? It did take many, many years, though, for this to look like a good contract. But now he's just going to ask for more next year because everyone else is making more. Now, I would never, ever come close to paying Nick Bosa $48 million a year. I don't think he's close to the level of Parsons either, because just Parsons is also able to be a great coverage linebacker, too. He can do multiple things. Bosa's literally just a pure pass rusher.
I totally agree with that. Bosa's fantastic against the run. He doesn't cover people because he's not a linebacker, but he's great against the run.
Yeah, is Parsons really bad against the run? I doubt that. I mean, I would have to look into it. But anyways, you did get the J right, and I feel like you knew that. You knew his middle name's John. I feel like you knew that.
Maybe I did somehow in the recesses of my brain, but go me. Thank you for looking that up, by the way.
So I just think that, again, right at this moment, it's like, wow, Nick Bosa looks like a great deal right now. He's going to ask for more next year. And if he's going to ask for close to the $47 million, I think they're going to have to say goodbye.
I would not say goodbye to Nick Bosa. Now, it'll help him to have a better year this year than he did last year, which I think he will. By all accounts, he looks absolutely phenomenal so far in preseason. I think the defensive line is flat out better than it was last year, which is going to help Nick Bosa. And
can we name a team that's won a Super Bowl lately or like has been dominant because of one great edge rusher on their team? I think it comes way more down to depth and having good quality depth on your defensive line where everyone's really, really solid, really good. And then you have depth guys that can come in and rotate. That seems to be the way to go, way more than having one really good player that offensive lines can just focus in on stopping.
Well, obviously, you can't have one star and a bunch of scrubs, which you could argue that's how the 49ers roster is sort of set up this year of stars and scrubs. But if you only have one guy, yeah, that, you can game plan around that and it's not as impactful maybe as others. But like, look at the Rams in 2021, right? They had Aaron Donald. They had Leonard Floyd, who got 9.5 sacks, but Leonard Floyd had like 9.5 sacks for the Niners last year. We've seen how that can be a little less than impactful. And then the next leading sacker on that team was Von Miller, who had 5 sacks. So we've seen teams win with one really great pass rusher just as recently as 2021. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Fine. I just saying most of the time lately, right? I'm not saying there's no situations of it. I just all these top guys getting paid, their teams are no good. So is it just a coincidence or what?
The salaries are going up, man. Of course they're getting paid more. Like Peyton Manning, when he signed one of his deals with the Colts, he was getting like $11 million a year. And he was like the highest paid quarterback. It was ridiculous. But like they keep going up. So you can say like, oh, $47 million. It's like, yeah, well, what would you pay him? 40? Well, guess what? That's what it was, a little while ago. Now the market, yesterday's price is not today's price, as the kids say.
You think nothing of that the highest paid players in Myles Garrett and TJ Watt and Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson and Josh Hines Allen and Brian Burns. Those are all the top guys. I just skipped over to Danielle Hunter. He is making a lot per year, but it was just a 2-year contract. All those guys are on terrible, terrible teams. You think nothing of that?
No, because it's not their fault. Like they don't affect.
But he's not changing anything. And you know what? Just like quarterbacks, the quarterbacks change everything. Offensive line, I think, makes a bigger impact than edge rusher. I just think edge rushers are overvalued. I really do, because if you're paying these guys this money, that means they are such a difference maker. They are winning games for you. They are changing your record. They are changing your season. And that's why we're paying this amount of money for you. That's just not, I mean, I just listed off some of the worst defenses in the worst teams in the league. They're not changing anything for their teams, yet paying them such a large percentage of their cap space. Like the reason you're willing to pay the quarterback such a large percentage of the cap space is because without a quarterback, you're screwed, right? And that's a lot of these teams I named. They just haven't had a quarterback. But that's the point. It's like, if you don't have a quarterback, that's pretty much it. Like, I'm willing to pay $100 million for my quarterback at this point. Like, that's really the only thing that seems to really, truly matter is the quarterback and the offensive line.
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone's arguing that a pass rusher is as important, as impactful as a quarterback.
He's getting $48 million is getting up towards Josh Allen money. I mean, Josh Allen just before the season was making $45 million a year?
And now he's making
60. But just last year, just before, I mean, this offseason, he was making $48 million a year. $45 million a year is, I mean, $47 million a year is getting up there with all the top quarterbacks in the league. Parsons is not close to having that impact of any of the top quarterbacks.
So are you saying this was a good trade by the Cowboys?
I think I might be talking myself into it. I think that
Get the hell out of here. Before the year, there wasn't $47 million wasn't the market for edge rushers, right? It was lower. But guess what? The market goes up every year, just like Josh Allen's contract went up. The edge rusher market went up.
Yeah. I mean, but also TJ Watt just reset the market at 41, and then the Packers went to 47. That's $6 million extra a year. Is pretty crazy. But also, I'm not saying the Cowboys are stupid, because they could have locked in Parsons last year. They're stupid for how long they've been taking. They could have locked in Parsons the second the season was done and the market was already much lower, right? The Cowboys are so stupid, and they run terribly. They could have got this deal done. But if truly what he needed was $47 million a year, and that's all he was going to take and nothing less than, that 42, 43, then I think I'm with the Cowboys here. I think it was time to move on. You get a couple of first round picks. You don't destroy your cap space on an edge rusher who cannot make the difference between you winning or losing a full season. I think that's fine.
So then what are you going to pay pass rushers 3 years from now?
So Parsons is making more than Patrick Mahomes per year.
Yeah, but the Mahomes deal is a little wonky. Plus, how old is the Mahomes deal? Like when Mahomes gets a new deal, which eventually at some point they'll renegotiate, it's going to be for much
Stafford's
more.
making $40 million a year. Who do you think is more impactful for their team winning, Stafford or Parsons?
Well, of course, again, I'm not arguing that quarterbacks are less important than pass rushers. I'm with you on that, but I'm just saying this is the price. That's what these...
Lamar Jackson just signed a contract extension recently, $52 million. That's only a $5 million difference a year between Parsons and Lamar Jackson.
Who are you arguing with? I don't understand what is happening right now.
No, because you're going to want to pay Nick Bosa this, and that's so stupid. So stupid.
I would pay him. That's what it costs. 5 years from now, what do you think pass rushers are going to cost? They're going to cost more. So, you're just never going to pay a pass rusher. That's it. So you've said the pass rushers, that's it now. They're not worth it, so you're not going to pay any of them $47 million.
No, I'm not. Until the cap goes up so much that it makes sense. Right now, I'm not paying pass rushers close to what quarterbacks are making, close to what the top quarterbacks are making. No, absolutely not.
Foot, thank you very much for the super chat. Says, I've been watching the Cowboys documentary, naturally a lot of 49ers info. That era knew when to let go of players, even superstars, if it was right for the team. Bosa demanding 48 falls in that category, in my opinion. Now, look, I have said you don't get super attached to players. You got to be willing to move on from players. But just like the Cowboys with Micah Parsons, any draft picks you get for Nick Bosa are going to be used to draft a player that you hope and pray, and if you hit the lottery of all lotteries, is as good as Nick Bosa, is half as good as Nick Bosa. Let's not forget, the only reason the Niners were in any position to draft Nick Bosa is because Jimmy Garoppolo blew out his ACL and they won, 2 games that year or whatever it was. So, these opportunities to get these types of players don't happen very often. And by the way, they were only able to get Bosa because Kyler Murray was also in the draft that year, and the Cardinals took a quarterback number 1. If Kyler Murray's not there, the Cardinals are taking Nick Bosa. So you need a lot of things to go your way to get these types of pass rushers. I'm not willing to let them go just because of money.
The type of pass rushers who can get 9 sacks, 10.5, 9 sacks, and 3 of his 5 full seasons played, and 3 of his 5 seasons played, right? Because 2020 was just a wash, got hurt so early. 3 of his 5 seasons, those are not elite years in the slightest. Like, you're talking about, that's an easy replaceable guy. Like 10.5, 9. You can find that with the amount of times they let Nick Bosa rush the passer. And we know he's really good at the quarterback pressures, but not actually taking down the quarterback or actually making the big plays at the big moments. No, Nick Bosa he's a top 6 edge rusher in the league for sure. But he's not a difference maker type of guy where you pay him $47 million a year. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Nick Bosa is not that good. Is not a place I thought you would get to on the show.
I didn't
today.
say not that good. I don't think he is. Well, he's definitely not Parsons level. But I also I don't think that this defense, I don't think this team's record would change with or without Nick Bosa very much.
Micah Parsons is one of 2 players ever to have at least 12 sacks in his first 4 years. The other one, ironically, is Reggie White, who also left the team in the NFC East to go to the Green Bay Packers, which is sort of crazy. Nick Bosa, I'm stunned what I'm hearing from you. The 15.5 sacks in 2021 don't matter, apparently. I
didn't say they don't matter. I said it's had and 2 really great seasons of elite production and 3 meh for being a first overall pick. I mean,
hold on. You're also just looking at sacks.
Trayvon Walker has more sacks than Nick Bosa over the last 2 years. That's kind of embarrassing.
You're also just looking at sacks and saying nothing else he does matter. The way he plays.
I know. He's a good player. I know. He does other things. The quarterback pressures do matter. You're the one that doesn't like quarterback pressures.
Well, I don't think they're everything. I think they're overhyped, but they're not nothing. I think he's a great player. Nick Bosa is a good player. Wow. We went from the Cowboys are so dumb to you saying, I think the Cowboys made a good move to not pay him $47 million. What is happening?
Because I think they made a stupid move not paying him when they could, which would be way less than $47 million. They waited too long. They're stupid. But once they waited too long, you can't just be like, well, we waited. We're just going to pay it still. Like, no, once it got to $47 million, I would also be completely out. And not only that, they don't have to pay the $47 million. They get some draft picks to reload. Like, their defense already, like I said last year, was not good. So reload and try again.
How good was the Cowboys defense with Micah Parsons off the field last year? It was
real bad. Yeah.
Foot has another super chat. Thank you, Foot. Says, that's why you depend on your scouting team. Dallas drafted 3 Hall of Famers with the picks they got for Herschel Walker. Not a first either. You do what you got to do. First of all, hold on. Just because I've seen Adam Schefter try to put this narrative out there that this is Jerry Jones' Herschel Walker trade. First of all, Jimmy Johnson made the Herschel Walker trade. Okay. Jerry Jones had nothing to do with it. Second of all, the Herschel Walker trade ultimately involved 3 teams and 18 players and picks. Dallas ended up with 8 draft picks in that trade, including 3 first-round picks. This is not the Herschel Walker trade. It's not even close to the Herschel Walker trade. So forget that. Like, Jerry Jones is trying to push that narrative. I'm sorry, Jerry. I'm not buying it. That holds no water with me whatsoever.
And I want everyone to understand, I think Jerry Jones is a fool and a complete idiot. Again, he should have got this deal done so long ago. It never came to this, right? I'm not trying to act like the Cowboys defense is going to be better without Parsons whatsoever. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference between them winning. I mean, they're not going to win a playoff game anyways, right? They couldn't do it with Parsons to begin with. They always fall apart. The Brian Schottenheimer hire at head coach is just embarrassing at this point. So yeah, it's not like it's going to change anything. So why pay a guy quarterback money when you're already paying your quarterback the top money in the league? I just don't think it's possible. Like, obviously it's possible, but I do think it would have destroyed their team and even further than what it is. And then you don't get the first rounders to try to rebuild.
Mr. J says, what are you drinking today, Michelle? Better not be that tequila.
I got a mimosa.
It's always
a mimosa.
Yeah, and I agree with you, by the way. The Cowboys are dumb for many reasons. They should have paid him well before this, just like they should have paid Dak and CD well before they paid them. And they're also dumb for still getting rid of him. Like, you pay him the $47 million. They have the money.
See, that's what I just don't agree on.
The 49ers paid multiple guys at the top of their position for years, right? Warner, Trent, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle were all paid at the top of their position. They had all those guys on the team at the same time. Like, of course you can do it. And if you care about winning, you do it. But the Cowboys don't care about winning. They care about being the highest value team in the league or in the world or whatever the hell they are. That's what they care about. They care about Netflix documentaries. They don't care about winning. But anyway, I didn't mean to turn this into a Cowboys show.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy. You think Nick Bosa is better than Parsons. That's wild.
I do think Nick Bosa is better than Parsons.
That's crazy.
Parsons is a better pass rusher than Nick Bosa, but I think Nick Bosa is a better overall player than Micah Parsons.
How, if Parsons is the better pass rusher and the better coverage guy? So Nick Bosa is just the better run defender, slightly, maybe, even though the 49ers sucked at run defense last year. Like, so Parsons is a better coverage guy, way better pass rusher. And he has more quarterback pressures and the same amount of sacks as Nick Bosa since 2021 with 300 fewer pass rush attempts.
What did I just say? Micah Parsons is a better pass rusher than Nick Bosa.
And you already admitted he's a way better. I mean, obviously Nick Bosa doesn't play in coverage, like rarely ever. So Parsons can play in both. You're leaning that heavily on run defense that you don't even know the difference between the two. I'm sorry, you're not watching Parsons out there playing run defense. You don't know his abilities in the run defense.
Do you?
No. I don't. I would have to go and look up the stats, which I will do. But I'm just saying, I just don't think it's going to be that different to really say that Bosa's better.
I don't understand trying to ding a defensive lineman for not being good in pass coverage. Like, what are we talking about here?
I'm not dinging him for that. I'm saying Parsons is a better player to pay that amount of money to than Nick Bosa because he plays multiple roles. He can do multiple very, very important things better than Bosa.
Parsons' run defense grade last year, according to PFF, was 65.5. That was 72nd in the NFL. Nick Bosa's run defense grade last year was 79.9, which was 9th. Slight difference in those two things. And then dinging Nick Bosa because the rest of the guys on the Niners defensive line stunk and got run over. To me, I don't think that's fair to Nick Bosa.
I'm not putting it all on Nick Bosa. I'm just saying. And 1 year of slightly different grades, like I don't know if it matters all that much.
Slightly different grades. One guy is 72nd and the other guy is 9th. That's a big friggin' difference.
Okay. You got me there. Good job.
Wow. Let me just tell everybody. Do you know how rare that instance just is? Michelle is a bulldog. The first time we had a debate, I don't remember what it was about, but it was when the show had just started and we had a debate. And I remember thinking during debate, like, she's kicking my ass. And I don't even remember what it was about, but I was like, I need to be way more prepared before I come into these things with Michelle. So for me to get the "you got me there" is like a monumentous occasion, and I take it as a badge of honor.
You did a good job. I'm proud of you.
All right. Papa says, Michelle, I'm sorry, I can't trust anybody that thinks that Hurts is better than Brock. You lost all credibility. God, you can't ever say anyone's better than Brock.
I love Brock Purdy. I love him so much. I have him as a top tier quarterback in the league. I'm probably one of the highest people ever on Brock Purdy, but I'm also sadly one of the highest on Jalen Hurts. So I don't know.
this is a comment I saw a lot yesterday in regards to Micah, and people have said it about Bosa as well. And Joseph says, can we just agree that both of them suck in the playoffs? So what does it matter? I disagree. They don't suck in the playoffs. Like, I think they're both really good in the playoffs. Like, if you just look at sack numbers again, the sack numbers, I think, are what people get hung up on. But, I mean, first of all, Nick Bosa had 4 sacks in the playoffs in 2021. And he had 2 sacks in the playoffs in 2023 in 3 games. Now, he didn't have any sacks in 2022. So you can get mad at him about that, I suppose. But like even last year in the or 2023 in the playoffs, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss in 3 games. Like, I don't get the narrative that Bosa and Micah aren't good in the playoffs.
No, I've Bosa's showed up in the playoffs. I never thought like, oh wow, he's disappeared. I think, but again, I'm not trying to hate on Nick Bosa. Again, I said he's a top 6 edge rusher in the league. I just don't think he's worth top quarterback money.
So what? Well, first of all, do you think both? I'm sure he will ask for probably more than 47 million because like they're going to have to do something with the contract next year. I don't think they're going to make him go into the season or let him go into the season with a $40 million cap hit. I mean, do you think there's a realistic chance that we're sitting here a year from now talking about how the 49ers traded Nick Bosa in the offseason? Please, God help me if that happens.
Listen, if he's asking for that kind of money, I'll be on the side of trading him. I'm a Steelers fan, and I wanted the Steelers to trade TJ Watt. And TJ Watt is so important to that defense. He is. But at the end of the day, it's not making a difference for this team in terms of just doing the same thing every year in and year out. TJ Watt's not making the difference. And that's the point with any position that's not quarterback. They just cannot make that true difference. I think outside of quarterback, it's now offensive line, which is now the most important.
There's another part to this, which is how does the rest of the team look? For example, I said the Browns were nuts for paying Myles Garrett that money because they're nowhere close to a Super Bowl. And Myles Garrett is of an age that by the time the Browns are ready to win a Super Bowl, he's going to be too old to be able to be the impact player that they are paying him to be. So I thought they should have traded Myles Garrett, but they obviously didn't. They gave him a bag. Nick Bosa is 27 years old right now. If the 49ers young players look really good this year and are really good, all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, this defense might be great. So I would not say that same argument applies to Bosa because he's still young enough where you can give him another contract if it came to that. Now, I don't know if they're going to totally rip up the contract. Who knows? Because like you said, he is still signed for the next, 3-4 years. So they may just move some money around for doing the accounting. But Bosa, I think, is still young enough to where he could be an impact player on whatever this next version of the 49ers defense is.
And, if their defensive linemen who they took in the draft this year, if they do hit and they look good, then they're going to be cheap for quite a few years. So you can afford to pay, the one guy. And there's not many guys on this defense where you're like, well, they're going to have to pay him so much money. I mean, right now it's Fred Warner at the inside linebacker position, which doesn't make all that much money to begin with.
And he just got a new deal this offseason.
Yeah, so it's really would just be Nick Bosa. So in that case, I do think you're kind of set. And then the same thing with the offense. I mean, overall, they're going to have to get younger soon here, right? And they're already younger at the wide receiver position. We'll see how long they keep the IU contract for. But CMC won't be here much longer. Trent Williams won't be here much longer. Those are expensive contracts that they'll be getting young most likely for. So I do think they could afford Nick Bosa. I just don't know if that's the right way to spend your money.
Well, I hope they keep him. As long as he's a good player, I hope they keep him. I know we're sort of skipping ahead a year. We still have this season to play, obviously. But I did think of that when I saw that Parsons contract. I was like, oh man, this is going to change, because that's how I think of things. How does this affect the 49ers is always my first thought. And an edge rusher getting a huge contract, which, by the way, credit to Micah Parsons' agent. Nobody else, who are you negotiating against? And he's still got way more than the top of the market.
It's insane. And then someone brought up Aiden Hutchinson in the comments. He has to be the happiest man today. I mean, the Lions have to be sweating that out now because Aiden Hutchinson's going to make Parsons money.
That's interesting. Although he's got he's coming back from a devastating injury. So he's got to hopefully show out. And I hope he does because, again, I want all these guys to be good and get paid. But yeah, that's another one. I don't know if anybody else is up. I mean, Micah just got paid. Trey Hendrickson will be a free agent next year. So that'll be another thing because Cincinnati just did the 1-year deal with him.
We had a comment that says Michelle would be the one to not pay Ohtani. Listen, if there was no cap space, I would like MLB. I don't care what these billionaires spend. Spend all your money. I don't care what you spend. I don't care about their money. I care about the cap space and how it can hurt your team overall building. But the baseball MLB doesn't have to worry about that. So yeah, pay. If there was no cap space in NFL, no cap limit, I'd be saying pay all these guys anything they deserve, right? But that's just not the case with the NFL.
I did not think Shohei Ohtani was going to come up on today's show, but okay. By the way, on my fantasy team, just, because I'm a genius.
Wow.
Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Rousing edition of the show today. Our last show, Michelle, before we preview the regular season. Next week on the show, we'll be able to do our normal gambling and fantasy show. We'll be breaking down the matchup with the Seahawks. Can you believe it?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for week 1.
I cannot wait.
I'm going to wear my Kittle jersey for week 1. And as long as I'm never going to not wear it until they lose a game.
Absolutely. That's your duty.
And I'm also not allowed to drink a mimosa if they lose, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, man. Okay.
Not on the line for you next week.
There is.
But, thank you, as always, for joining us. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Please leave us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Pods. We haven't had very many lately, so if you could do that, it really helps us, especially before the season. People are going to start coming back looking for Niners pods. If you want us to get discovered and you want to share this thing that you like, the best way to do that is to leave a rating and a review. It helps people notice us. Michelle will give you a cheers on the show as well, assuming you can actually have something to drink.
Hey. You just said mimosas. You didn't say other things.
Well, that's true. You know what? That is a pretty massive loophole. Big mistake on our part. But thank you, everybody. Michelle, what are you doing this weekend?
I actually have a really full packed fun weekend. I'm going to an event tonight after a workout class with some people, going to a Mexican restaurant. That'll be fun. And then tomorrow, going to be watching the Texas-Ohio State game.
Yeah.
I'm too excited for that game, which means Texas is going to lose and break my heart right away. And then Sunday, I have my main fantasy football draft, which I'm always looking forward to every year.
I got my fantasy football draft tomorrow. Levin is in the league this year.
Oh, so he got to take my place, huh?
No, not your place, but somebody else's place. Michelle is a crazy college football fan. I was in Texas with you when Texas was losing to Ohio State. The venom that came out of Michelle's mouth as she was watching Jack Sawyer pick up the football and run it back for a touchdown. I don't even know the expletives that she put together, but it made me blush. And I swear like a sailor when I'm not on the air.
That was a sad moment, and you were visiting. So I had to pull it together and be okay for the rest of the night. It was very sad when they lost.
Woo, man. I know somebody that wanted to see Arch Manning that night.
I really did. I'm so excited for him during this season.
You'll get the chance to watch tomorrow. It's going to be a ton of fun. But again, thank you, everybody. Go Niners, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, y'all.